Hi guys, I have my client Cheryl here with me, and she has had some really awesome shifts happen. She did my 7 week 7 week chakra activation program, and it was, to say the least, it was a really awesome experience for both of us. We got to know a lot about her, some insights from her past and how she's kind of got here, and then just some different things to help her really navigate. Like, we figured out what she wanted, and we took the steps through each chakra very thoroughly to figure out what was blocking her from having the experience she wanted to have. And overall, I think we met pretty much everything, maybe not in the way she expected, but we met almost everything that we set out to accomplish. And so she's here to share her journey on that. And I'm super excited because it was just really awesome to see her from day one to that last session, and the difference in her energy, her glow, her excitement, and just enthusiasm in general. And the frequency she was putting out was just a completely different one. So I'm super excited for her to share the journey. So thanks so much, Cheryl, for being here with me. So the first question that I have for you is, what made you want to do the 7 week chakra activation program with me anyways? Like, what, when you saw me posting about it, what was kind of going on in your experience that was like, this is it, this is what I need to do, and I'm doing it?
So it's been a long 2-year journey of going through a lot of pain, physical, mentally, emotionally, pretty much being brought down to my knees. But I've been doing a lot of energy work with other people, shedding a lot of it off. But I could feel that my chakras they were very much out of line. And that's a huge part of who we are. So when I saw it, it just spoke to me. It was like, this is what you need to do. And it was hard being in the middle of it to see it, but you would point out every week, well, hey, you had this victory. So it was like, yeah, I sure did. And I need to it taught me to, hey, focus on the little victories and do it yourself and not solely rely on outsiders. So
Yeah.
it was just the time of, I needed this to complete or to add to everything else I've been doing and keep those tools in my toolbox and continue using them.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm kind of hearing you say is you needed to kind of come back into this wake up of like, hey, I might not be looking in the right directions, right? Like acknowledging our small little wins, our small victories, the little steps that we're taking just to get that extra energy and to just kind of really say, wow, I am making progress. Like, I am moving forward, right? And so that was something, I think you're right, was extremely pivotal in our journey. And then the other thing was, like you were saying, there were some physical, mental, and emotional struggles going on. I remember, you had kind of isolated yourself a little bit from everything that had happened. So, and you were in, but sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes we need to kind of go into hermit mode and get to a place where we can just clear the clutter. And sometimes that clutter means leaving the job, leaving the relationships, being isolated a little bit so that we can think for ourselves and figure out what we need as an individual. And so it was just kind of a perfect opportunity for you to kind of get to the bottom of these physical, mental, and emotional, and even spiritual blocks that you were having, because you're a very spiritual being, but there was some disconnect in like you believing that you had a purpose or knowing your direction and just different things like this. So, and your physical health was kind of manifesting in a negative manner because of this. Like, you were getting sick constantly and different things like this. So these were some things you wanted to get to the bottom of. And so that just, hopefully that's okay for me clarifying the physical and emotional and stuff that we were working on. So once we started, and after a while, you started noticing those little victories. Where are you now? Right. So like, where, after the 7 weeks, what are some things that you've noticed, what were some things that you accomplished that you're aware of?
So one of my biggest struggles was a relationship with my kids, and specifically my daughter, and that just overnight changed. And the hurt I think that was going on with her lifted, and we had a one-on-one communication. And I went out to see her at the end of these courses, and it was just really nice to say, I love being with you guys, and just the reconnection that was important. And just feeling, like you said, my energy shift. I don't feel as heavy. I still have some struggles, which I'll just continue going through these steps as well as my others. But I definitely feel lighter, and maybe not as miserable in this place that I thought I can't survive here. This is so bad. I am trying to see it in a whole new light, which is wonderful because it's a beautiful place I live and I don't necessarily want to leave it. And just want to renew who I am here and make myself a new being and surround myself with good people, draw them in with the new energy that I have brought forth. I think it's always been in me, but it got covered up with life and the crap, and I wanted to dig it out.
100%. And I want to just kind of bring back what you were saying, because I think it's important for people to hear, because it's very similar to my story as well. What's happening here is we're not throwing out the life that we had and starting new. And, you know, sometimes, meanwhile, that can be the journey that some people need to go on, is throwing out the old and really just starting from scratch. But what I find more than not, right, more than just throwing it away and starting from scratch, is we actually just rebuild what's already there. We reconnect to the home environment, right? You know, something we have in common is we're both living in a home, and we're surrounded by the town and the environment that we were actually broken in.
Yes.
And that can be hard. We start to blame the house. We start to blame the county or the community, right? We start to blame all these things. So then we start to disconnect from our environment, and that makes it really hard. It almost starts to feel miserable. So when we can actually heal our relationship to our home and to our communities and to our environment, what happens is we get to rebuild what we already have, and we don't have to run away. We don't have to start over. We don't have to do any of these things. And it's exactly what you were saying. It's just taking these things that we already have and flipping the script a little bit. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And I think one of the things I talked to you about in the session that I learned from my journey with that is I used to look at the house as if it was the house that broke me. Right. But when I looked at it from a different angle, it was actually the house that built me. It's the house that made me who I am today. It's the house that I was forced to heal in. And I actually really love it, right? I actually really love this environment. I'm glad I went through all the trials and tribulations and the hard times and the struggles in this area. And this is where I want to be now. Like, I'm so in love with it. And I know that, you know, it's an everyday. It took me a while. It took me a while to really make that shift completely, to really let go of, oh, I got to run away. Oh, I need something new. Right.
Yeah.
But I think, and again, maybe sometimes that's the case for some people, but I think sometimes it's not always the case. And sometimes, yes, it might seem a little harder to just fall in love with where you're at and what you have, but that might be the lesson that you're supposed to learn, or that might be the thing that pivots your healing journey and brings you back into alignment, is to just allow yourself to see what is kind of going on in a different light. How did it maybe help you, or how is it supporting you? Right. I remember, this is kind of something personal that we went through with your home. I remember, because it's similar to me and what I went through. Everybody else abandons us, right? It's like, we've been left here to crumble, whatever, right? But guess what's still here? And guess what's always holding us? The home.
Yeah, true.
The home has always carried us. The home never left us. The home is always here for us. The home didn't cause our problems, right? And the home is actually the only thing that is stable, secure, and consistent in our lives. And, you know, it's just these little things, right? Like, that's just an example of little things that can help you kind of shift that perspective, just in case anybody is out there listening that's having some physical, mental, and emotional issues due to, like, just their surroundings, right? So hopefully maybe that's helpful. I'm curious to know, what was your favorite part, or your favorite session, or what was kind of the best part about the program or your experience in it?
So I think it was the heart chakra, but it was an exercise where we took my higher self, and I had a piece of my little hurting girl, and we went and we comforted her, and it was so empowering. It was like I could see myself going to her and giving her the love that my mother never gave me, my sister never gave me. And it was so healing and gratifying. And it was like, I need to force myself when I'm feeling these emotions to bring that higher self to that hurting girl and just comfort her, because there's a lot of healing in healing our little broken children inside of us. All of us that are here means we probably didn't have the greatest childhood, and we're trying to figure it out as we're adults. That one was just, I cried through it. I mean, it was like, and crying has been difficult for me because I've been blocked up. So it's always great to purge and get that off the soul.
Let
And
it
it was
out.
just so lovely. Yeah, it was like, wow, I can do this. I can go. My higher self is there. She needs to step up and go down and comfort the hurting little girl. So that one was my favorite. Good
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah, good. I love it. And that, those exercises that I do where we confront an inner child, a lower energy. And what I mean by a lower energy is kind of like sometimes we create this lower version of ourselves, or some people will call it a shadow self. And these are the parts of
Mhm.
ourselves that we're maybe mad at, or we maybe blame for our problems. And I
Right.
remember, I think maybe in our first session or our second session, we called one of those lower energies, which is just basically a summation of different thoughts and emotion that's created an energetic part of you. And what
Yes.
we learn is they're typically just trying to protect you. You've just
Yes.
created your lower self or your shadow self as a defense mechanism. And
Right.
when you subconsciously use that defense mechanism over and over and over again, it tends to just be this automatic thing that happens. And then eventually we forgot why we created it. We forgot that it is just trying to protect us. And then we forget, like, or like we start to wonder, why do we always act like this? Or why do we put ourselves in these situations? Why do I have such a short fuse or whatever? Right. Like,
Yep.
and so we start to blame ourselves. So then we've got that added guilt and shame that we've got to work through. And all of these little things, these are real life experiences that is going to clog up or block the chakras. And the chakras, like Cheryl was saying, are a big part of who we are. They actually govern our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual experience as an individual. So what that means is each chakra has a job. Some of them govern the metabolism. Some of them govern different organs, and some of them govern your senses, your sight, your hearing, your smell. And then internally, they govern your emotions and your mentality, your subconscious thoughts, and your whatever's going on mentally for you. And then your connection to the spiritual, right? So the connection to the spiritual is just your ability to kind of trust that you do have a higher self with you, or you have divine guidance within you, or that the universe or God can show you the way, or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. And so you can kind of see clearly. And really, what do I mean by higher self or universe? It's really just your intuition.
Yes.
Your intuitive abilities are your connection to your spiritual higher realm. Whatever that looks like for you, you can literally just call it your intuition. That's what it is, because it's what connects you to the higher frequencies, to the higher realms of being. So your chakras are in control of that. There are at least 3 chakras in control of your intuition. So if one of your chakras are out of balance, that is going to indicate that there are at least one other or more chakras out of balance as well. Because these little life experiences, whether it's neglect from our mom, a bad breakup, something with our work, or a disconnect from our daughters or our children, any of these little bitty, I mean, some of those are big, right? But even if there's some small things, like traffic or whatever, if you don't have control of the emotions, it's going to suppress. That we're going to start suppressing these things, and then that's why we boil over. And where we're suppressing them, we're actually shoving them into our chakras, and they're being stored within the body through our chakras. So chakra activation, chakra healing and balancing is all about just kind of decoding and deconditioning and untangling all of those emotional and mental blocks, so that, because if it's a physical manifestation of like illness or distress, or a weak immune system or a bad digestive system, that means that we've got to keep going. We've got to go backwards, because the physical manifestation of whatever illness it is won't start to reverse until we untangle the emotional and mental aspect of it, and ultimately the spiritual aspect of it, because that's what's actually going to allow us to heal in the quickest, most optimal way, because your subconscious mind carries all the tools that it needs to heal your body. Think about this. When you get a scratch, or when you break a bone, or when any of this happens, sure, a doctor might be able to put some medicine on it or wrap it up, but ultimately your body does the work. Your
Yes.
body is a natural healer. So when you are needing healing, when you surrender, right? Because when we cut ourselves or whatever, we don't think too hard about it. We just know our body's going to recover, and it does. But when it gets a little bit bigger, we start to freak out and we start to doubt those things. And then we block the natural healing process from happening in the quickest and most optimal way. Along with daily stress, if we're not in control of that, then it can be really hard and the health will decline further. But if we reverse that by getting our emotional and mental and spiritual realms in balance, so then the physical can start to reverse. So
Right.
I love that. Based on your experience, this is one of the last questions I've got for you. But I'm curious, based on your experience and what you've learned, what might be some advice if someone is where you were when we first started, right? If someone was kind of experiencing what you were experiencing, and you crossed that person and they were like, this is what's going on, Cheryl, I don't know what to do. What might you tell them?
First would be listen to your intuition, that inner self that you're talking about. Mine had gotten so diluted from all this stuff that I would hear it, but I'd be like, no, that can't be right. Listen to it, because if you do not, you're not being true to yourself. So that's the biggest thing. And then I've been reconnecting with God. And if you're feeling called to do that, or your spiritual, whatever your deity is, feel called to that and answer it, because it all, as you said, has to work together. And I've been fighting it for too many years. And I'm like, what am I been fighting this for? It was all about me, and it's not working. If it's not working and other things are calling to you, give it a try. Listen to it. You see something on Facebook, like your this program, do it.
Right. Yeah. And I love that. And because that's exactly what we have to do, and you know what will help? I'll give you guys a little bit of an exercise. It's very simple. The thing, like if you're somewhere where Cheryl was, right, and your intuition feels kind of diluted, and maybe you have a little bit of like, well, I might feel called to do something, but I don't know if I can trust myself. Something that helps with that, or what helps me, is especially when I'm like kind of in my head about something or whatever, and I just genuinely don't know what to do to move forward. I just ask to be shown. I just ask, I want the clearest signs, right? Like I make it clear, right, that I want to know exactly what I'm meant to do. I want it to be very clear. I want it to dangle in front of my face, and I can't ignore it, right? I want it to be extremely clear that this is the next step for me to take, or this is what I need to hear, or this is the book that I need to read, or this is the program I need to take, or whatever it is. This is the person I need to call, whatever I need to do. I need it to basically come to me and make it very clear. So how I do that is I just ask. I just very specifically ask to be shown the solution, right? So what do I need? Like, and you can ask yourself 100 million different questions, depending on the situation. But it's like, if you're in like Cheryl, I'm almost willing to bet she was in this distress, and she was kind of probably constantly asking herself, what's going to pull me out of this? What's going to bring me back to myself? Over and over again. And then my program stuck out to her, right? So like, these are the questions. So wherever you're at, like, so let's say that's the example, right? If you're in some sort of distress and you start asking yourself, what's going to pull me out of this? What do I need to get back to who I know I'm meant to be? Right. And then just kind of pay attention to what sticks out to you. And then whatever you might feel called to, you're like, oh, this is what I need. Or, oh, you start craving something, let that guide you. Lean into it. Just, even if you're just seeing what it's about, just lean into it, and then just pay attention to how it feels as you move through the process of it. Right. So I hope this was helpful. is there any last shares or final words? I appreciate you for sharing your journey and your experience and your tips. Is there anything else before we close up?
No, I appreciate your spirit and your energy and the healing that you help bring to me.
Yes, yes. And I'm so thankful for you. It's been really incredible to watch
Yeah.
you go
Aw.
from this is not right, this isn't working, to, oh my gosh, it's here, it's happening, it's just
Yeah.
flowing. And you did, and you went from this trying to control, this trying to, I've got to fix this, to I'm just going to step back. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to trust the process. And then it all just came to you so effortlessly. And
Yeah.
these are the keys. This is why a lot of the things that I talk about, I say chakras are one of the biggest things that will help you amplify your manifestation abilities, whether it's career or health or healing of relationships, whatever it is. Your
Right.
chakras can be a wonderful first step. They were one of my first steps, and that's why
Yes.
I decided to create this 7-week chakra activation program, because I know that until that spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical realm of being is in some sort of balance. And
Right.
like Cheryl was saying, she's still got to do these tools. It's one of these, it's kind of like it's just work. It's just daily, it's a daily commitment to connect to yourself, to be there for yourself, to find the answers for yourself, right? And all she wanted the tools to be able to do that easily. And that's what this program was. It gave her the tools to just easily commit to that daily process of, I'm committed to myself. I'm committed to getting these answers that I need for myself.
Yep.
So it's not like, it's one of these things. It's so helpful for your continuation of success and evolution and anything you want. Because I'll tell you, every single time I have a challenge and every single time I want to reach a goal, I have to go back to the basics. And part of the basics, one of the big pieces of the basics, is the chakra work. So I hope this was really helpful. Again, I appreciate you, Cheryl, for sharing your experience in the program. And I really hope you guys got some good tips from it. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in and being here with us. And we'll see you guys next time.